Okay, welcome to the council meeting with this team for the municipality of South Dundas for Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. Thanks for everybody in attendance. I'd like to have a motion to call the meeting to order. Let it be resolved that the April 24th, 2024 council meeting of the municipality of South Dundas now be opened at 6:17 p.m. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Moving to item number 2, confirmation of agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda? Councillor Ward.
Thanks, Mayor. I would like to pull item M from consent.
Yes, we'll move item M, resolution from the Township of Amraneth to discussion items. Any other amendments to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I have a motion be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas approve of the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Item number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none, we'll move to number 4. I have a motion. Let it resolve that the minutes of the following meeting be adopted as presented. The regular meeting minutes of April the 10th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move to item number 5, delegations. Tonight, we have Asset Management Coordinator Tyler Nelson with us to share the 2024 Core Asset Management Plan. Go ahead, Tyler. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on asset management tonight. I have a quick presentation for you on what you can expect from the next asset management plan that you will receive in June. So first, let's review Ontario Regulation 588.17. So in 2019, we completed the asset management policy, and we'll need to revisit the policy again for 2024. Review it and potentially update. 2022, we completed the core asset management plan. In 2024 now, we are required to complete the asset management plan for all assets, core and non-core. In 2025, the 10-year plan will be due. So I'd like to just go through the difference between core and non-core assets. So in 2022, the core asset management plan included water, sewer, storm, roads, bridges, and culverts. And then in 2024, the asset management plan will include all assets, so core and non-core. So this includes buildings, vehicles, machinery, equipment, etc. Everything we have in our inventory. So next, I'd like to look at the comprehensive analysis and financial strategy. These are the main 2 sections of the asset management plan. The comprehensive analysis includes asset inventory, replacement costs, condition ratings, useful life. And financial strategy includes annual capital requirement, infrastructure deficit. I'd like to go through a quick explanation of each bullet point tonight for you. So next to annual capital requirements, where I'll start. So annual capital requirement is calculated as replacement cost divided by estimated useful life, and that's how we get our annual requirement, plus any additional costs for maintenance, anything like that. Now this is a target for reserves per year, so that's what will be outlined in the asset management plan. So for example, we have an asset that costs $10,000 to replace over a 10-year useful life. That asset will have a $1,000 annual requirement per year target, plus any maintenance. So next, I decided to include some early replacement costs. These might change a bit, but for the most part, they should be where they're at here. So overall, we're looking at over $400 million to replace every asset. And then annual requirement as of now, we're just under $9 million. I do want to point out too that water, wastewater, buildings, and equipment are included in the totals for building and equipment here. That won't be the case for the asset management plan. I plan on having tax-funded assets and rate-funded assets grouped separately, as we did for the first plan. Now, annual requirement gives us infrastructure deficit. So both these charts here are from the 2022 core asset management plan, so they'll be updated for the next one. But these show what we need versus what we're actually setting aside for asset management purposes. So you can see in the graph on the left, back in 2022, our annual requirement for roads was 2.7 million, target, of course. And we were setting aside 1.2 million, so we're just under halfway. And then we have a report card on the right to show our progress. So now on to condition ratings. This also is a chart from the 2022 core asset management plan. Each category will have a condition breakdown based on weighted replacement cost, or weighted by replacement cost. So next, we'll move into risk and criticality. So risk is divided into two categories. We have likelihood of failure and consequence of failure. Likelihood of failure is simple, it's just based on condition ratings. And consequence of failure, we have divided into two groups here, replacement cost and category value. So this is how I did it for the first, or how we did it for the first core asset management plan in 2022. Replacement cost was valued 30% and category value was 70%. So simple replacement cost, the more the replacement cost, the higher the risk. And for category value, I have just a couple examples on the left. Water and sewer buildings rated at 5 out of 5, and storm manholes, for example, at 2 out of 5. One's a lot more valuable than the other, a lot more severe if one fails. So now I'll move on to compare a couple risk ratings. So I've included a fire vehicle and a streetlight, 2013 Spartan Metro Star pumper, and the streetlight at the corner of Ottawa Street and Alice Street, just across from the municipal office. So the fire vehicle has a consequence of 4 to 5 rating because its replacement cost is significantly higher than the streetlight, and the category value of fire vehicle is fairly important, quite important. So we take our 4 rating for consequence times 2.5 for likelihood of failure based on condition rating, and we get our risk rating of 10 out of 25. And then we do the same for streetlights. Despite having a slightly higher or a slightly lower condition, a slightly higher likelihood of failure, this asset has a lower risk rating because of the lower consequence of failure. So we can move on to asset prioritization list. This is an early asset prioritization list. Don't take this one too seriously. The numbers are accurate, but the order will change based on the OSIM report recommendations, but I just wanted to include it as an example on how the prioritization list works. So the higher the rating, the risk rating, the higher it shows up on the list. I also want to mention too that this is a tool to support decision making. It's not expected that this is how, like, this will be followed to the like exactly how it is. It's just for supporting decisions. So every category will have that prioritization list. So now moving on to levels of service. So for the 2022 core asset management plan, we had levels of service given to us, but for the non-core plan, we create them ourselves. So levels of service are divided by community levels of service and technical levels of service. Community levels of service are typically description images, and then technical levels of service incorporate key performance indicators, so we have numbers to back our progress. And then it's divided, the levels of service again are divided by scope and quality. So scope being services provided and quality being condition. Yeah, so I've included a few here as an example. These would apply to every asset category, and I can include others based on key performance indicators we have for other asset categories. So I have description or images of the types of vehicles, municipal vehicles and the services they provide, and then the key performance indicator would be historical cost divided by department. And then for quality, I have condition ratings and replacement costs and backlog. So now we can move on to annual requirement versus levels of service and the relationship between the two. This is really the big discussion that council can have, is if we want annual requirement to be lowered, then we need to lower levels of service. And the opposite, if we want to increase levels of service, we have to increase annual requirement. And unfortunately, in our case, in the case of many municipalities around, if we want to maintain levels of service, we still need to increase annual requirement. So that's it for my presentation. If you have any recommendations for me to keep in mind or questions, I can do my best to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Thanks for sharing the information as we start down a path to the final report. I'll kick it off with a question, and you may have mentioned it, but in the risk rating, like for bridges, I assume we use the reports we get on the state of the bridges and the expected life. Is that right? Do you compare the report from that report and create the risk?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So when I get the OSIM report, there's a recommended replacement year on it, and that's what I would use for the prioritization list. And if we don't have that, then we use the risk rating mentioned before.
Okay. Yeah, so we intertwine all of our other studies together into the asset management plan. Well, the asset management report. Plan is what we need to create. Comments, questions? Councilor Ward?
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Tyler. This is like something that's very important to me personally. I think that this helps us make decisions as a council. It'll help future councils make decisions. It's just an overall amazing document to have at your fingertips. So I'm really looking forward to the 2024 version. I'm happy to see non-core is obviously included because yeah, we have a lot of core and non-core together, and obviously we have a funding deficit that we're going to have to look at eventually. I just wanted to ask one question, if I may, Mayor, is that, so I have an understanding of how it works. So when you understand the total cost replacement of an asset, so let's say a bridge is 1.8 million to replace, is that factored out across the time in which we have to replace it? So for example, if it's not needed to be replaced for 10 years, does that total capital cost get increased by like CPI or something like that over those 10 years? Or is it just what we paid for it in the year we purchased the original bridge?
Through you, Mayor Broad. So every year, so every asset, every replacement cost is inflated to 2024, if that's what you're asking. And then I won't go ahead any further than that, but every year, every time I do an asset management plan, I'll inflate every replacement cost to the year of the asset management plan.
Excellent. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor Broad, and good presentation. I'm not going to pretend I know all the ins and outs about this, so I look forward to getting educated more as you come and visit us. I guess my question was related to a little bit similar to Mayor Broad's question on the bridges. We do a road study, and I can see Director Hyman's here. I believe we do a road study every 10 years was the year, and I'm just wondering how that would align with this, and should we be increasing our road studies to every 5 years so it's better aligned with our asset management plan?
Through you, Mayor Broad, it's definitely a conversation we can have whether or not we want to increase the frequency of road need studies. But as of now, I mean, I can speak on bridges because I just worked on that part of the plan. We do owe some reports every 2 years. So what they give us, I'm pulling directly from those reports because they're the experts. So yeah, I take from those plans and incorporate into the asset management plan.
Dr. Hyman?
So to answer your question a little further, so the last roads need study was done in 2019. Within that study, they provided a 10-year roadmap on what they thought based off of the windshield report is what it was. It was a windshield road assessment. So I've been following that report, and within that report, it does give you the option to review the asset. If it's holding good, you could then proceed to another asset that's not holding as well. So the big key contributor is you keep your good roads good and you let your bad roads go really bad. Well, now we're starting to repair those bad roads because as per the report, I'll give Henderson Road as an example. It might have been identified. However, it's still holding strong so that we can jump into the roads that that are not doing as well. So you will see that with the roads need study, it will become almost like the OSUM, where it'll be an every 2-year activity. So yeah, it's getting there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Moving on the agenda to number 6A, TS 2024-02, sidewalk replacement repair. Manager Transportation, Mr. Hyman, you can continue.
Thank you, Mayor Broad and Council. So in front of you, you'll find the results of the RFQ, which was issued for our sidewalk replacement. During the 2024 budgets, staff had agreed on certain roads to be replaced within this year. So within that tender report, pricing was submitted for First Street, Second Street, and Trillium. Within that tender also, there was a provisional section, which was the sidewalk just north of the municipal office here, which runs east and west from Ottawa Street into the Morrisburg Public School play yard. So the intent of the program, again, was to replace old sidewalks with new 1.5 meter wide, 5-foot walking platform. And those are the sidewalks which we maintain in the wintertime for snow plowing. 16 companies submitted pricing, which was a great turnout. And I can answer any other questions which you may have at this time.
Thank you, Manager Hyman. I think it's fantastic. We're seeing a return of many bidders because that helps us, it helps the competition get us the best price possible. And nice to see we've worked with this contractor before, so continue with them. We are following our sidewalk plan and just refresh our memory of what year we're at in our sidewalk plan.
So through you, Mayor Broad, so this would be year one of your plan, which your council came up with.
Right.
For the next 4. So this is the first one of 4 moving forward.
Very good. And on the critical sidewalks, you'd mentioned at one time that we'll be through the critical ones. At what point?
So through you again, Mayor Broad, I believe in the next 3 years, with this one being year 1, we'll then move to the country and then back to Iroquois. So in the next 3 years, we should have our sidewalks that we maintain in the wintertime. They should be up to 1.5 meters wide.
Excellent. Great to hear. Any questions or comments? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. So do we know so last year there was an issue with the sidewalk replacement in Iroquois, took a good part of the summer. Do we know the total project from start to finish, what a timeline might be this year?
So through you, Mayor Broad, so I have spoken with the contractor and he has assured me that things have been rejigged. They will be much more efficient with productivity. Things won't be left open over the weekends. I had a very thorough conversation with him. So he is planning, if he is successful and awarded, to start the Monday after the long weekend in May. And he anticipates a month to 2 months at the most to get this started and completed.
Councillor Vino? Sure.
Through you, Mayor, I think it might just be a typo, but just so that we have it cleared up, I think the 118, the math doesn't add up. 118 and 19, and then the total cost combined, like that's in the recommendation, and then the total cost combined ends up at 139,999. So I think there's a typo in here somewhere. I don't know if it matters if we're going to approve this. So in the recommendation, in the top part, it says 118,370 plus HST, and then the provisional at 19,208 plus HST. But then the, which would equal 137,578, but then the budget implication and the total combined is listed at 139,999.47. Is that my mistake somewhere?
We'll move to Deputy Treasurer Mason, please.
That's quick math.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The way the report is laid out is, yes, the recommendation says 118 plus HST. However, the budget implication will include the non-rebatable HST.
Missed the included part.
Thank you. And thanks for the question. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I have a motion that council accept report TS 2024-02 to award RFQ number TS 2024-04 sidewalk replacement and repair to JT Concrete Limited in the amount of $118,370 plus HST, and that council awards the provisional work to JT Concrete Limited in the amount of $19,208 plus HST, and that the manager of transportation be authorized to sign all necessary documents to give effect to contract. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Moving to 6B, TS 2024-03, plow truck for 2025 delivery. Manager Hyman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you, you'll find the results of the snowplow tender, which was issued for a delivery of the fall in 2025. This is a pre-approval item so that we can get on the docket to get our chassis built and receive it in the 2025 fiscal year. So during budget, I presented a piece of paper showing you our fleet and which plow truck we would like to replace in 2025. Since that, during that document, it was Unit 68, which is a tandem axle plow truck, frontline plow truck with a Cummins engine. However, that unit is holding well. It was on the fleet replacement due to its age with the 15 years. That truck is still holding well. We have a single axle plow truck, it's Unit 84. During its emission testing, it ranked high on the emissions side, which is a strong indicator that something is just not proper. It does have a max force engine in it. During its operations, it regenerates frequently, so we have to stop and let it go through its cycle, and it is burning oil. So through conversations with the mechanic, we've decided that that would be the prime candidate to remove from the fleet and bring in this new vehicle. In reviewing triaxle plow truck versus a tandem axle plow truck, I was trying to figure out the risk versus reward, and I've been leaning more to the triaxle side just because of the productivity of the unit outside of the plowing season, where we can utilize this unit to help with culvert replacements. We can utilize this for ditching activities, working alongside recreation, working with the water and wastewater department on water breaks. It's a bigger unit. It just holds more material. And during the winter time, we can place this unit on the furthest plow route away from the Matilda garage, where we could become more productive. Once that truck is loaded, it's gone. It would not have to come back halfway through to get another load of material, which it does right now. So those were the factors that were weighed in on this tender. We did receive two prices, one for triaxle, one for tandem. It was both done through canoe procurement. I did give you the breakdown on our thoughts, and this truck would then be ordered, whether it's a tandem or a triaxle, would be ordered with a new swing blade. The swing blade would then be placed on Unit 103, which would then plow Iroquois, and we take the one-way plow off of 103 and put it on this new unit to plow out in the country. So I can answer any questions which you have at this time. Yeah.
Thank you, Manager Hyman. Questions, comments? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Broad. Absolutely no issues at all with getting rid of any truck that has a max force engine in it. So if we step out of line in the asset management plan, that's okay.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I have a motion that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report TS 2403 to award the tender for the purchase of one Freightliner triaxle plow truck with Proline 2 box, plow and wing to Gincor Industries in the amount of $449,850 plus HST, and the council award provisional swing blade purchase to Gincor Industries in the amount of $2380 plus HST, and the manager of transportation be authorized to sign all necessary documents to give effect to the contract. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Manager Hyman. Moving to bylaws, 7A, 2024-32, amend sale of purchase of property. Clerk Crystal Lebrun.
Thank you, Mayor Broad, and through you, good evening, Council. So the purpose of the bylaw in front of you tonight is to reestablish a process for the sale and purchase of property owned by the municipality in a disposition and sale of land. So the current bylaw that we have was established in 28, updated in 2017. However, staff have determined that it needed to be updated to ensure that the processes set out in the policy would ensure that any of the any disposal of municipal property is conducted consistently, transparently, and in a fair way. So the bylaw has been updated to permit the retention of a real estate agent, and it would allow them to use selling strategies, for instance, to sell more than one lot at a time, or selling multiple properties simultaneously. So the flexibility is very important, as it will allow for a real estate property agent to meet the market of the day. It also, we've also changed it so that it would allow the CAO to negotiate a conditional offer, and that would reflect again the current market of the day. And then once those conditions have been fulfilled, then of course councils are the ones who will just approve the sale of the property. And any council will have an opportunity in the very near future at an upcoming meeting, where we'll be going through our property listings, so that council can determine what properties they want to list as surplus, and we can get the process going. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Clerk LeBrun. Comment and just a follow-up before I pass it over. I did notice in the previous bylaw that was updated, some thoughts and rules that they had talked about, and specifically about road allowances, how the municipality at the time when they wrote this wanted to maintain all those road allowances. During the discussion, when we look at some properties, it would be, maybe we could bring the bylaw and some history to maybe, if we have it, why they thought that at the time, so that we can understand why that was at the time. So more of a comment of when I was reading the bylaw, that I noticed that in there, if we had any history. When we go to discuss certain properties, you know, what were some of the histories of that at the time? Questions, comments? Nope. All right, looking forward to seeing those potential properties we may look at. So I have a motion. Let it be resolved that the sale and disposition of land policy number 1-10 be amended in accordance with Schedule A as attached to the bylaw, and furthermore, bylaw number 2017-08, any previous bylaws pertaining to the sale of disposition of land are hereby repealed. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to 8, boards and committees, which we've had a lot in the last couple weeks. I can kick things off. Deputy Mayor can add. We had a county council meeting last Monday, and we had some action requests to go through. We did discuss the disposal of a surplus grader, which really led us to just surplus large ticket items at the county. So we brought forward a motion to have an opportunity for the lower tiers to buy surplus at the counties, because our taxpayers have paid for it through the county taxes, and we have some good history with the mechanics and the crews that run those units. So we passed a bylaw that at future times, if anybody's interested in lower tier, they get a first chance to buy it. If not, we'll put it on Gov Deals and sell it off. So that was kind of one thing that we'd worked on, and then we had passed a lot of the paving, skin patching, guardrail tenders, and passed the Oak Valley Bridge rehabilitation. Lots of things in the consent agenda as roadside spraying is going to start. And we did have a update from the Regional Incentive Committee. Maybe Deputy Mayor would like to talk about that. Think you've got it? Yeah, good. Everything good? Yeah, so there was 10 projects passed, and they're all posted, so excited for the folks through it. SDNG, South Dundas didn't receive any this year. it rotates around based on applications, but certainly good news to get a lot of projects. And overall, the amount of work getting done, we only fund a portion of those, so a lot of work being done. We did have, at the same time, a roads tour with the county the previous Friday. So we toured all throughout SD&G, 300 kilometers with counselors in the roads department, and looked at all the upcoming work that the county is working on. So we went to all the roads we're paving, all the bridges we're replacing, and or things that are upcoming to see what it takes. And we found it very interesting to actually, go to a bridge and, say, why is this one 1.8 million, but we can do one for 1.4? See the difference, right? And we went to one bridge way out north of Dalkeith that must be 30, 40 feet down, right? So you're thinking you have to be removing all that material, all the work they have to do versus a bridge that may be low level. It's just very interesting on seeing that. So super happy with Road Superintendent Derek McMillan on that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor Broad, just on further on that one too, what was unique about that was we got the opportunity to understand where they can close a bridge down and work on a one lane versus trying to shut the whole bridge down and work with the local residents or farmers or businesses. And there was one unique bridge that there was two farmers on both sides of the bridge. Both of them have land on the opposite side, so they were concerned about accessing to and from. So we're hopeful that they can kind of make an agreement, maybe do a little bit, I wouldn't say a land swap, but maybe crop on their side of the bridge for that year and just work out a deal that way. So it was very informative for sure.
Yep. So that was county council, lots of other things on the go. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Vino. Yeah.
Sorry, just, you mentioned the roadside spraying, just for the residents, is it the same setup this year where, if they have an issue or they don't want their spray, there's a contact at the county for that still?
And they post a sign where to stop spraying and then where to restart spraying. So
And
on
there's
their property.
instructions on that
And
still? Is it on the county
Yes,
website?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was more for the residents to.
Yep. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, so further to that, maybe we could connect with county council and let's get the proper dates and let's get it on our website as well, if it hasn't already done. And T is, there you go. I figured T, you'd be ahead of us, so thank you very much.
I think SDG just posted today, so
Yeah,
we'll follow
thank you very
that.
much for that, yeah.
Very good. Okay, 8C, Economic Development Committee meeting last week. So I've got many notes, great meetings we've been having on the economic development side. We had 3 delegations at that meeting. We had Shauna Baggs from Cornwall SDG Business Enterprise, Karina Belanger, SDG Tourism, and Kara Kirkpatrick, SDG Manager Economic Development. Now, Shanna's been here before to our meeting with delegation, and Tara's been here, but having Karina was good for us in the committee to get a real feel of what's happening all throughout SD&G, and what's going to happen in South Dundas with all of their programs, all the tourism activities, as well as really interesting, and we're going to continue to work in our Fraser Dupuis will with the Business Enterprise Center with folks that can take training on how to start businesses and promotion of businesses. And then on the tourism side, lots of things happening there. The new SDG guide is out. There's 60,000 of the annual guides out, rack cards, maps. There's a new bike map and cycle trail. We had the SDG booth at the Eclipse Day, but we're also tonight, they're at the event in Cornwall, and there's other events coming up. We talked about the pop-up shop painting, so that's ongoing. So that was approved a couple meetings ago. So the painting, we had some great artists come through, and so those are getting painted now. So we'll see them unveiled here in the near future. Anything else to add, Deputy Mayor, on that one?
Thank you, Mayor Broad. The only thing I was thinking about was on the painting of the pop-up buildings. I mean, they're quite unique paintings, and what I would do is, and I think we could promote this as well, encourage anybody else that's looking for this type of, because I'm just thinking there's a couple businesses around that have these sea cans, and instead of having this god-awful looking sea can that's sitting in front of your building or near your building, it might be an opportunity to promote and get them painted as well, because there's some pretty neat designs. So, you know, maybe that's something as well that we can promote and see if anybody else wants to get on board with that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any updates from the Waterfront Committee meeting? Councilor Vino?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I was also traveling for work on that one, but I do have the minutes here with a couple points that I'd like to make. So the one main topic that's still underway is the parking and crosswalk designing and whatnot. So that was a topic along with this multi-use pad. So that's kind of the anchor that we've been talking about that we'd like to get off the ground as a committee. They have enlisted, so the committee has found a few different grant options, and they've created a roadmap for funding for this. They do have some estimated costs here for a multi-use pad with and without boards. The price difference is, you know, is significant. So they're working on we're working on the funding roadmap for that. And what else do we have here? They also like to promote the multi-use pad as, you know, some public consultation for it at the trade show on May 2nd. So that will be something that we'll be looking to do. I think that's the bulk of what I've got here. Oh, the shoreline plantings were going to be continued this year, and they'll be completed in the fall in 2 separate plantings. So yeah, that's what we got for the Waterfront Committee.
Very good. Thank you. Under E, SDG Library Board, I do update at the county meeting, but I wanted to share tonight our meeting from last Wednesday. We were in Finch, and Finch is the library branch that has the Maker Lab. And we, as a board, got to make a whole bunch of things, with all the different crickets of the 3D printer, the printer, making mugs. We got an opportunity to make a few items, and certainly great activities. And so I wanted to promote to say that if you haven't been to Finch, you have a family, or you need to make something, you can take advantage of the Maker Lab in Finch. At the library there, you can call ahead, book a time to make some things, or go check it out and see what they can do. But you can make pens, hats, mugs, 3D print things. If you're a game enthusiast and want to make parts for a game you've invented, you can use that 3D printer there. So I wanted to just highlight the Maker Lab in Finch. Under F, Iroquois Waterfront Committee. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Broad. So we had our meeting last week. We continue working on, or the committee continues working on the pathway lighting improvements. We're kind of I feel like I come with this lighting plan and it keeps changing month by month, but the latest is the lighting along the west side will not occur. There's just too much stuff going on with the existing pathway and stuff like that. So we're just going to concentrate on Adair Road. So Mr. Ross is continuing designing and tweaking the lighting design on that. A couple of the other things we discussed, just for staff, our website now includes the information about the airport. They were very impressed with that, and they thank staff for working with them. If anybody is on our website, check it out. It's pretty good. They continue working on shoreline planting, just like the Mooresburg waterfront, and coming up with the number and exact species that they would like to plant. A couple other things here, if you don't mind, scroll down. They're talking about when the spring cleanup is going to occur. They're looking at having a movie night, just like Mooresburg, and maybe picking Mooresburg's brain on that. They were curious about the food truck, because I think they would like to get a food truck in at some point in time, although we recognize we're trying to lease out the canteen, but it is something for an event that they'd like to have. So I did inform them that the bylaw is getting updated. The ACDEV committee has been reviewing it, so hopefully that'll be rolled out in the next meeting or two. And then another thing that they're going to do is they're going to request some funding through the 100 Woman campaign. What they like to do is put in and install a accessible ramp. Maybe ramp's not the right word, but accessible David, what would be the proper word for it? Mat, yeah, accessible mat from the beach to the water. So, people could, with, accessibility, challenges can get in and out. So, hopefully they'll be, supportive on that. And then we do have our joint waterfront meeting, tomorrow night. So, yeah, no, it was good. It was a good meeting, and they're starting to, not starting, but they continue making some headway. Now, one of the things that they did ask, and John Ross asked, which was really not part of the waterfront committee, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways, was kind of that add-on to the campsite building, correct, David? And what it was, and I always get mixed up with the words, so I apologize.
Pergola?
Pergola?
I think more what he's looking for is a little bit of a sun structure even. It
Sun
might even be a
structure,
little bit more than
pergola.
total pergola, but
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is if I could get some support from council, that David can work with Mr. Ross and see exactly what he wants, and maybe bring it for council for further discussion, but I want to get approval from council first.
Okay,
Nod on that, yeah.
okay.
David?
Support Director Jansen to work on that, bring us
Okay.
back a report.
Perfect, and that's it for me, thank you.
Okay. G, Youth Working Group, so Councillor Ward, myself had a kickoff call last week. We're having our first committee meeting tomorrow night. Melissa Forlet has done an excellent job pulling together with Director Jansen the terms, and we have 7 great applicants, and we're just getting excited to have our first meeting tomorrow night and set some clear boundaries and expectations and get our youth working group going. So, thank you for that. Nothing to add, Councillor Ward? Oh, we're good on that one. Okay. H, Gerald Good Roads, just an update. Councillor Smith, Deputy Mayor, myself, CAO, Clerk LeBrun, Dr. Hyman. We did spend a few days in Toronto at the Gerald Good Roads conference. Just a few things to highlight of what happened. We did get to do some networking and spend a little bit of time with our MPP Nolan Quinn at Queen's Park, and we had a short tour. And Councillor Smith did point out his great-grandfather, George Smith, that was a MPP in the 17th Parliament back in the 1920s. So that was really cool for Councillor Smith to see that. We did sit in on a lot of speakers from the Premier, the opposition, the ministers from transportation and infrastructure. So there's a lot of fireside chats where they did interviews and asked questions of them. We sat in on some training sessions, did quite a bit of vendor connections, and we certainly spent some time on road safety and some of the best practices when it comes to road safety. So it was a good conference for a couple of days in Toronto at Good Roads. And we didn't have another one, Tom, but we did have, Councillor Smith, we did have a farm tour last week. Do you want to just say thanks or call out briefly on the farm tour?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Broad. So, yeah, we did do the farm tour last Saturday. It went well. Everybody was happy to have us visit. Hopefully these farm tours continue. We are talking about the next one that we do. We want to try and hit some of the market gardeners, and so that'll be a late summer or fall tour. So I don't know if it's going to happen this year or next year, but we'll try and do that next. I think everybody was a little bit surprised, myself included, when we had to suit up at Ian Mudda's pig farm.
Yeah.
So, but that was his wishes, so that's what we did. So, anyways, yeah, no, it was all good.
Good. Yeah, so I'd like to thank the farmers for hosting us, and one of my quotes I sent out there, and one of the posts was really interesting on how excited some of the children of those farmers are becoming in the business, right? So as they're transitioning the business from one generation to the next, and they were started from generations before, so that continues to be good. Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda. Quite a few. So under 9A, the 2024 Q1 budget actuals. B, inclusive community grants. C, economic and community development committee appointments. D, South Dundas Waterfront Committee member appointments. E, a KIR from building stats. F, a report emergency management, Ontario Provincial Emergency Management Strategy. G, a resolution from the town of Lincoln on the extension of Bill 23 timelines. H, resolution Clearwater Township endorsement of Bill C-63 in the House of Commons. I, resolution from Prince Edward County, support for a call to action to meet deadlines of an Accessibility Ontario by 2025. J, resolution from Hastings County, sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. K, resolution, the Greater Madawaska funding for the 2024 municipal equipment operator course. L, resolution Township of North Stormont expanding the lifespan of fire apparatus. N, minutes of AGM South Nation Conservation. And O, South Dundas United Football Club road closure request for 2024. I have a motion that all these items under general consent of the agenda be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, move to discussion items. So under 10A, committees and working group update. Director of Parks, Recreation, and Facilities, Director Jansen.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. So in front of you is just a report tonight. If you remember back to January, we updated the terms and conditions for a few of the committees. We've been actively recruiting for them since about early February, so it's been about 2 months of recruitment now. As Mr. Mayor already inferred, we do have a youth working group meeting tomorrow, so we're very excited about that. We have 8 applicants joining that committee. Hopefully they're all there tomorrow, and they'll get off to a great start. Unfortunately, the other 2 committees that we were looking for members for, one has had 3 applications and the other one's only had 1. So staff's just looking for a little bit of direction from council. Staff's put it out in the newspaper. We've done our social media. We've been out to a few events. So we've been trying to recruit as best we can. Just looking for a little bit of direction from council with if they want us to keep trying to recruit, if we just move on and continue, if there just wasn't volunteers and keep going. So just a little bit of direction from council as to the next steps that they'll be looking for their committees.
Yeah, thank you, Director. Just my initial thoughts are, with the Carmen House, we could work through any details with the tourism, like economic and tourism. So like if things come up for the Carmen House, we could deal with it in that committee for now, and we could get recommendations from the South Dundas Historical Society for ideas. So on that one, but I'd like to, maybe that could be, we could just leave it for now. On the recreation, I think we just need to go out, keep going at it, and I'm sure myself, I'll go out and we can recruit and pull some names together, and maybe ask a few folks to join up, see if we can get that committee going. Councillor Ward?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just, one comment, I think when these originally were posted, like some time ago after we first got elected, there must have been more applications for the Parks and Rec. Like, it was quite the committee. Like, I don't know if you still have those applications because it was advertised at that time, so it might be, a good process to go back and see where those are and who submitted, because I know it was open at one time for Parks and Rec.
Okay, right, yeah, we could go back and double check from the initial
Just see if any of
committees
those
of council, the initial committee of council applications, did we have some recreation applications? We can go back and look at those. Other comments? Is that fair for us to give direction on that one? Okay, so I think Director Jansen, let's just leave the Carmen House, and we can deal with that on the other committee. And for the recreation, let's keep advertising, and we'll take on a little bit and get the message out, looking for some applications. Councilor Reno?
Just the one applicant for the Carmen House, is there room on the other committee for that applicant if they're interested in the tourism? Like if you're gonna deal with the Carmen House through that committee, maybe that
Yeah.
person would like to join that.
Yeah,
one.
we could ask them what their interest level is, or what their, I'll leave that with Director Jansen. Okay, and we added 10B, which is the resolution from the Township of Amaranth, the operational budget funding. Councilor Ward.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I pulled this from consent because I think it's important to acknowledge that there are cities in Ontario that are receiving additional funding to offset their tax deficits from the federal and the provincial government. And those cities have more individuals and more properties that they could increase their tax rate to. And often in rural areas, our tax rate is often higher than cities' tax rates. So it's just disappointing, and I'd like to support this because I do think that it's unfair that, our constituents are also paying provincial and federal taxes. And to offset one city's deficit is not really fair. It should all be, maybe a funding formula should be done, or if that's how it's going to move forward. So I'd like to support this motion. Obviously, I think staff might have to do some work, because I think they did a calculation in their motion, but when it comes back, I'm sure finance will have a grasp on how that calculation works, but, yeah.
Questions, comments? Certainly at the conference, and it did come up with some of the members, and the mayor actually spoke at the conference, so there was some conversation about this, so I think the timing is good on this to get that resolution out. So we'll have a direction, clerk will run for staff to bring back a resolution based on their resolution at our next meeting. Thank you very much. Okay, under 11, notice of motions. Any notice of motions? Seeing none. All right, I have a motion that we move to closed session. So let it resolve that council convene to a closed session at 7:07 PM to discuss the following items under the Municipal Act: proposed pending acquisitions, disposition of land, and pending acquisition of land and security of property. I have a motion to move to close. Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. So just before we end the recording for tonight, as we'll be in closed session, just want to say thank you to all our residents in South Dundas. Spring is upon us. Yard work continues to happen. Our yard waste days are posted, but I just want to send a shout out, thank you to all the members of the communities that's been volunteering and cleaning up some litter and debris from the winter time. I know that the schools and clubs and just residents are doing their part. So thank you to everybody in South Dundas for pitching in and doing their part. So with that, I'll say